To ask you were answered by you at this interview.
I don't mind answering them again. Any questions that you have?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for the very awesome show.
Thank you.
It was one of the most striking ones that I've seen.
Thank you very much.
I'm a great fan of your band, as far as you can see, and thank you very much for coming to Russia at last.
I know, it was our pleasure. We had such a good time.
We hope so.
Yes, it was great.
Спроси про причину переиздания последнего альбома на новом лейбле.
So, let us get to the questions, if you don't mind.
Yes.
We're interested in fact, why was the last album remastered?
Well, we released the Southern Born Killers album ourselves just through the internet. And we wanted to try to maintain an independent status and not use a record company, because in the music business, the business side of it has a tendency to hurt the creative side of things, because you enter into a partnership with a record label, and then they're involved in every aspect of making records and how the band is photographed and the artwork, and we just wanted to be an independent band. We make the albums ourselves, and we give the albums to the fans. But we were having difficulties with touring, and because without having proper distribution with records in the shops, it made it really difficult for us to go out and tour. So we decided to go ahead and try to find a new record company to put out our material. They wanted to put Southern Born Killers out again, but they wanted to add a few extra bonus tracks, so it was like a re-release. So it was a re-release, remastered, with 3 new bonus tracks. That's the reason.
Можно ли сказать, что вот новые 3 трека, что группа будет двигаться в дальнейшем в таком ключе?
So, speaking of the 3 new tracks, the bonus tracks, is it the new direction of the group in music?
Well, I think the 3 new songs are pretty representative of some of the older stuff we did. I think if you listen to songs like This Is How We Swing, it sounds like it could easily be on the Rising album. And then you hear The Fear Is All Around Me, sounds like it could easily have been off the new Southern Born Killers album. I really want to try to not get too far away from who we are as a band. We know who we are, and the core of that can be found in songs like Rising and Trick, and songs like Raise the Dead Man, and songs like That's When I Burn. It all comes down to good grooves, good aggressive rap vocals, and good melodic choruses with singing, good guitar solos, good riffing, and we'll occasionally try some different things. Like we did on the Rising album, we had a song called Suburban Ranger. On the new album, we have Open Season and The Fears All Around Me. Those are very different songs for us, in Yoko Ono. But I think when it comes to the core of the album, we want to stick to what it is that Stuck Mojo is at its foundation. And that's a badass rhythm machine with great raps and great melody.
Yes, I agree with it.
Thank you, thank you.
Спроси про отношение к бесплатному скачиванию в интернете и пиратству.
The next question is, well, you partially answered it, but anyway, what is your intention towards the piracy through the internet and downloading music for free?
It doesn't bother me.
So-called masters.
It doesn't bother me because I recognize that if fans really truly love a band, I think they'll support them. I think they want to. They'll want to try to get their albums. They'll want to come to the shows. They'll want to buy the T-shirts. They'll want to support a band. And if someone downloads the album, and it's a good opportunity for them to listen to it and get to know the band. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's almost like advertising. A lot of bands look at it as stealing, but for us, when you download an album, most of the time the quality is not as good as you'll get on the CD. So it's kind of like a lower resolution version of the album, and it's kind of like just testing it. You get a chance to listen to it. It's like going to the record store. Sometimes they have listening stations where in the States what they do is they'll have a set of headphones, and you can listen to one of the albums and see, hey, I really like this, and if you like it, you'll buy it. And I feel like that we put out a great product. We're loyal to our fans, and we hope that if they like the songs, they'll go and buy it.
But well, there are some countries like this country where the piracy has a very high level.
Yes.
And unfortunately, well, people will just are satisfied with the quality they have on the using MP3s. You're listening to MP3s, and they buy them. So what can you say about it? It doesn't bother you anyway.
Well, let me say this. If you want to be completely honest, most bands don't make any money off their albums. The record companies do. So,
But you were talking about the independence.
Well, if I was a completely independent artist and I only made albums and then released it strictly to sale through my website, then yes, it would hurt me financially. But the fact that most bands have small independent labels like we do. We were signed to Century Media for years, and now we're signed to Napalm Records. If you buy a bootleg, it doesn't really hurt the bands. It hurts the industry. And what the record companies need to do is the record companies need to find new ways to put together packages that will make a fan want to buy the album, like bonus DVDs, extra artwork, things that are attractive to fans. Like myself, I love DVD extras and all kinds of things. If you put CDRs that have music videos and have photo galleries and extra things, then it's an incentive for the fan to spend the money to buy the album and to import it. So to me, it's not up to the fans. It's up to the bands and the record companies to provide a package that entices people to go and purchase it.
Yeah, see. Thank you.
В чем причина частого тасования состава и по какой причине ушел Бонс?
Well, maybe it will be a difficult question for you, but anyway, well, we're interested about the changes in the band,
right.
Band members, and the reasons why Bones left.
Bones and the band, every lineup, whether it was the Snap and Next lineup, where we had the original bass player Dwayne and Brent, we've changed lineups so many times. The reason we've changed lineups, I'll start from the beginning. The reason we've changed lineups so many times is because it's difficult to make a living making music, and money becomes a problem. You're out there touring, you're playing, you're not making a lot because you're supporting other bands. We're opening for Testament, we're opening for Life of Agony, we're opening for Typo Negative. When you're an opening band, you don't get paid any money. So you're out there really working just to get new fans in. And the headlining act is the one making all the money. And so for years, we were just making so little money that it became difficult for people had families, they had to pay their bills, and it was hard because it's just like for a husband and wife or for roommates. If somebody's having financial troubles, it builds more tension. You know, that's why a lot of marriages split up is for financial problems, and it's just hard. It makes the little tensions that may happen between two people, it amplifies the tensions because the financial part makes things more difficult. So we've had lots of changes, not just because of the money, but there's been other things. You know, touring for 300 shows a year, you know, and then take your 5 best friends and put them in a van and travel the world for 300 days. And see if you still get along with your best friends, you know? Because it will tell you exactly all the things that you love and dislike about those people. And it makes it very hard. Because instead of you and your friends, if you have a disagreement, you can go home. When you're in a band, you can never go home because you
signed a contract.
That's right, and you're always on tour together. You're touring, you're recording, you're in the hotels, you're traveling, you're on planes, and so it really tests friendships. It really tests your relationships. And so, because of all those things, it's caused over the years some tensions. The reason that Stuck Mojo and Bones stayed together, i.e. Bones and I, were together for so many years is because we were the nucleus of the band. We were the yin and yang. I was the musical side, I wrote all of the music and did all of the production side, and he was the crazy guy who went nuts on stage, you know? The problem was is that he and I never really got along. There was never really a brotherhood and there was never like a love relationship. Writing together albums was always lots of tension and it wasn't always a fun process. It was difficult. And being on tour, he was a party guy constantly from when he got up until he went to bed. And I'm quiet and I enjoy writing and I enjoy the music side. So we were completely opposites. And as we became more popular and there was more alcohol and more drugs and more parties, it got away from what it was that we got into music in the first place. Like, think about it, when you're 12 years old, you first start playing guitar, all you want to do is play music. Like, your heart and everything that you are is into the music and writing and recording and playing live. And when that's not the focus anymore, then you're living a lie. It's no longer the magic that it was supposed to be. Then it becomes party first, show second.
Then you want drugs, alcohol, babies,
yes,
and all the way.
And you don't show up for studio sessions, and you show up late for gigs, and the band's like, we go on in 10 minutes, where's the singer? And it was destroying the band. And we eventually just said, well, in 1999, we kind of broke up. The first time, after Declaration of a Headhunter came out, that was it. Nobody wanted to play with Bones anymore because of these problems. In 2005, we tried to get back together again and try to see if we could do it again. And it worked for a couple of months, and then the same old problems came back. And Sean and Mike and Steve, I mean, we're brothers. We love each other. We play music together, and we just, everything is right. But the problem was we weren't brothers with our singer. So it was important for us to decide, did we want to just quit the band or did we want to just try to find somebody else? And it was really difficult. It was, I mean, because even though it was, yes, of course, it's like, even though that we didn't have that love for each other, there was always problems, I still cared about him. We were brothers for so many years on tour. And it was hard, but it was what was best for the fans, it was what was best for the music, and it was best for the band. And for us, it was what we had to do.
А не тяжело ли новому вокалисту Лорду Нельсону, он уже говорил, да?
And let me tell you this, and to be fair, we offered to Bones, if he went into rehab, to get clean. And if he came out clean, we said, everything's good.
But he said no.
He said no.
Okay.
And so we said, okay, if you can't do that, then we can't go.
So,
And I take
the next...
30 seconds to sign this. And one person
Yeah, sure.
waiting outside.
Yeah, go ahead.
We are getting to the next question.
Okay, yeah.
Well, about Lord Nelson.
Yes.
How was it for him to get into the band? Well, and how is he feeling now? I mean, did he get used to the band and did he feel himself comfortable in the band now?
Yes, from the very beginning, he was always comfortable. He's a very confident guy. He's not arrogant, he's just confident. I mean, he knows he's good at what he does. And the first time I ever worked with him in the studio, it was like magic. I was like, I mean, he did everything that I wanted him to do, and we worked so good together. It was like a partnership where two guys were having fun, making music. He loved what I did, I loved what he did, and it made the process of writing and recording great. So then we just needed to find out, was he a great performer? Could he go on stage and be powerful? And we did a few shows, and he was amazing, and it was great, and so, yeah, you can see how great he is. I mean, and because we have such a good brotherhood, because we love each other so much as a band, and you can see how we all act with each other, it makes it more fun for the audience because they know it's not a show. They know it's real. They know that they're seeing five guys who love each other, respect each other, who love to make music together and love to tour together. And that is a band. A band isn't what a lot of the groups that we've toured with. They travel separate. They don't talk to each other much. Separate dressing rooms.
For example?
when we toured with Pantera. Phil had his own dressing
Machine
room.
Head.
The other guys, Machine Head. Yes, there were several bands that we toured with that just didn't get along well. It's not that they hated each other; they were just different. They found more peace being apart. And I always thought that was strange. I always wanted to be like, yes, this is my man, you know what I mean? And that's what I always wanted in a band, is a brotherhood. I think that's what a band is.
Спроси, есть ли какие-нибудь новости, ожидается ли что-то новое от проектов Fozzy, Six Speed, Duke?
The question is about the
Сторонние проекты его.
your side projects. Is something new going on?
I've written a lot of the new Duke albums, so there's probably 80% of a new Duke album written. But here's why. So when the band broke up in '99, I say broke up, we never announced it. We just stopped playing shows, we stopped releasing albums. I formed the Six Speed Band, and I formed the Fozzy Band, and we started working both those bands heavily. Then I got an offer from Spitfire Records to release the Duke album. So I did that album. And then once Mojo started getting back together and moving together, all of those bands started going back to being lesser priorities. And Mojo is now, again, the main band. But I want to do those groups. It's just that it's always better to focus on one band because it can hurt all the groups if you try to bounce too many things. So when I'm on tour, or when I'm at home off the road, I can work on the other bands, but it's important for me to focus on the main group, Stuck Mojo.
Next question. What modern groups do you appreciate? Do you like?
I love In Flames, I like Symphony X, I love Alter Bridge. There's so many cool groups.
Proto the Hero.
Who?
Proto the Hero.
Yeah, I mean there's so many cool groups that I like.
But most.
But
Just a couple.
I'd probably say that the group that I like the most, that I listen to the most, is Alter Bridge, because I love Mark Tremonti's guitar playing. I think he's a brilliant songwriter, and I love the new singer Miles replacing Scott Stapp. I think his vocals are amazing, and I'm into more of a classic melodic style. Like for me, I grew. You need to think about it. Like I started playing guitar in the '80s. So like, you remember the groups that you grew up on, the first rock bands you ever heard. Those are ones that like are special to you because it was an introduction. It's like the first girl you kiss. You know what I mean? It's like it's part of like who you are because it's the foundation of what. So I have like this sentimental part of me that loves these melodic bands that like Journey, and I love Styx. And I love ZZ Top, you know, and I love AC/DC, because those are the first rock bands I ever heard. And then my first metal bands were Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Metallica. So for me, like, that's where my heart is, in my foundation, the Ozzy, those, like Diary of a Madman, what an amazing album. And so for me, if I listen to too much new music, I don't want it to influence my writing. So if I listen to too much modern new music, I don't want Stuck Mojo to sound like other groups. So it's important for me not to like buy the new Machine Head record and listen to it a lot, because then it has the potential of creeping into your like subconscious. So then you end up writing songs that sound like that. So for me, if I'm gonna listen to old albums, listen to music, I listen to Queen. Or I listen to Bad Company, you know, albums that are like different from us, so that like our sound isn't derivative of other modern metal bands. So I like get my influences from the classics, Black Sabbath.
Есть хотя бы какие-нибудь ориентировочные даты? Планируется, когда новый альбом вот?
Are there any dates of the release of the new album?
Yes.
Yes.
Tentatively, we're looking at October or November. This year. I started writing material already for it, and I've got 3 or 4 songs written. It depends. We're supposed to go to Australia in May to support Drowning Pool and Saliva, and then we're supposed to do. We're booked to do summer festivals in Germany and England. So that's June, July. So we have so much touring, I just have to clear out time to get it finished and written. And I don't want to rush it, but I want to have an album out by the end of the year.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
I think